topic is on cancer. And what I ask you to do right from the get-go is challenge yourself to start thinking about how we have to approach diseases or pathologies differently than what we're currently doing in this country, at least what most people do to treat pathology in this country. And here's what I mean by that. There's really two approaches that we can take when it comes to dealing with diseases or disease processes. Either one, we can work on treating the disease, and by doing that we do things like cancer drugs, chemotherapies, radiation, surgeries, and it's not just cancer, any of the disease processes that are afflicting us as Americans, those are the ways that we treat the diseases. Drugs, surgeries mainly. On the flip side of that, the other way to look at this, and the way I want to challenge you to look at it, is instead of treating the disease, let's talk about treating the person or making the person healthier so that they build up the resistance to these diseases. Okay, that's a very different approach to these disease processes that most people don't take with modern medicine today. So keep that in mind. With everything that we talk about, the focus is treating the person, the patient, you, your friends, your family, by doing the things that make you healthy and build up your resistance to these things. Because the bottom line is that if you're healthy and you have a good resistance, guess what? You don't get cancers. You don't get infections, or if you do, you fight them off very quickly. We have an immune system that's supposed to do that for us. And what happens is when our own defense mechanisms get so low because we're not taking care of ourselves, all of a sudden we become susceptible to all these different diseases, including cancer, which is our main topic for tonight. In cancer, it's becoming more and more common, guys. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. You already know that. The statistics now say that 1 out of 3 people are going to get cancer. You know, Lance Armstrong, we've all heard of him, world's fastest bicycle racer, had cancer. I just heard today on the radio Sheryl Crow has cancer. So it's a disease, it's a pathology that's getting worse and worse. It's taking more and more of our loved ones from us. And when you look at how things are currently being, how it's currently being approached, like I said, the drugs, the chemotherapies, the radiations, all you have to do is look at the numbers to say that's not working. This country declared a war on cancer back when Richard Nixon was president. And since then we've been working to find a cure, to develop more chemotherapies, more effective treatments. And even though we do have more drugs and more surgeries than ever before, guess what? We have more cancer and more people dying of cancer. So that's obviously not a very effective approach. And we're going to explain why tonight and what you really need to do to take care of these issues. Because cancer, it can be prevented. And the reason for that is because cancer, it's not something you catch. It's not like, oh, I caught an infection. Cancer is something that it's growing inside of all of us. We all have thousands of cancer cells in us. It's a fact. Ask any oncologist, a cancer specialist. Every person has cancer cells in them. But the difference between somebody who actually has a disease of cancer and somebody who doesn't is the immune system. One person has an immune system that's able to control and kill the cancer cells before they get out of hand. The other person doesn't. So let's talk about some cancer 101 here, some basic facts. So again, your body kills cancer all the time. We all have cancer cells in us. We have an immune system that fights off the cancer cells and keeps it at bay. What is cancer? Cancer, really what it is it's a cell in your body that typically starts off as a normal functioning cell, but it basically kind of gets lost along the way and it stops doing what it's supposed to do and it never dies. It just keeps replicating and growing. Normal cells are supposed to go through a cell process, they die off, and our body creates new ones to take its place. The cancer cell never dies, it just continues to grow. That's why tumors grow and cancer metastasizes. So that's what cancer really is. It's a cell or group of cells that have lost the idea of what they're supposed to do, and they're growing out of control. And the immune system is what is supposed to regulate that. Finds cancer cells, kills them, keeps them at bay. So it's important to understand, Cancer 101, cancer doesn't make you sick. You have to change the way you think. Again, it's like everybody thinks that you get cancer or you get an infection. Well, truthfully, again, we all have cancer cells in us. It's not a matter of, oh, I got cancer. It's a matter of your body's defense mechanisms got so low that now the cancer is taken over. Okay? So it's a difference. It's not really that you get or contract cancer. It's that you become so unhealthy that the cancer takes over. So again, what we have to do is focus on the true cause of it, which is you, the person that's getting unhealthy. And why are we getting unhealthy? What are we doing? So again, your health and lifestyle dictate how well your body can kill the cancer. That's what it all comes down to. How you're living your life, what you do to take care of yourself every single day. And you don't get a moment off. Your health doesn't take a moment off. You always have to be concerned with doing the right thing. What are you doing? So this basically is saying the same thing, cancer and immune system, that it goes over a quote by a medical doctor just to give it some credibility, but again talks about how we all have cancer cells in us. Cancer cells have to be killed by the immune system, and if they're not, that's when the cancer takes over. Talked about what cancer is. So let's bust the myth. The myth is that cancer is genetic. Oh, I got cancer because my mom had cancer and my grandma had cancer, so I got cancer. No, it's not actually medically the way that it's been shown to work. Cancer can cause you to be susceptible or predispose you if you have genetic line of cancer in your family, but it's the lifestyle factors, what you do every day, whether you smoke or not, whether you're consuming too much alcohol or not, whether you're eating the right foods or not, exercising or not, those are the factors that will determine whether or not you get cancer or not. The only thing the gene does, if you have cancer that runs in your family, it makes you more susceptible because now that gene is there and it can be turned on if you do the wrong things. But if you don't do the wrong things, it doesn't matter that the gene is there. You'll never turn it on. It'll never be expressed, and you'll never get cancer. 95% of cancer is lifestyle. It's been shown over and over again in the latest research. So here's some staggering statistics. Sometimes statistics are boring, but sometimes statistics really prove a point too. We look at cancer in America, and I told you it's growing rapidly. 1 out of 3 people are going to be afflicted with cancer. You know, when you look around in the room, nobody wants to believe that anybody's going to get cancer, but how many people here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With those statistics, it tells us that the odds say that 2 of us either have cancer already and don't know it, or maybe you do know it, or you're going to get cancer. Just that's what the statistics say. That makes it real. But look at these numbers here. 200,000 women diagnosed with breast cancer. 40,000 of them died from it. So this was last year, in 2011. 142,000 people diagnosed with colorectal cancer. 53,000 died from it. 203,000 people diagnosed with lung cancer. 158,000 people died with it. It's a lot of people. If we start looking at those numbers in a war, we're thinking, holy smokes, we lost a lot of people in the war, right? Well, this is a war against cancer. So when we look at treating cancer, typically or traditionally in this country, you're basically looking at 1 of 5 treatments, or maybe several of them, to treat cancer. So you've got them listed here: chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, drugs, or transplantation. Those are really the 5 options they'll give you if you go and the doctor tells you you have cancer. Why do you think these aren't working? Second to think about it. You guys think that cancer is caused by a lack of chemotherapy? I don't have enough chemotherapy in my body, that's why I got cancer. Does that make any sense to anybody? No, right? And the same thing with all those. It's not a lack of any one of those that causes cancer. Which means that none of these are actually looking at the true cause of cancer. They're just trying to treat the problem once it's already there, right? It's not getting to the cause. If this was the cause, then we would say that it's a lack of chemotherapy that causes cancer. That's not the case. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to actually look at what is causing it. And instead of doing chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, drugs, take an approach where we treat the person as far as what's getting them into the situation in the first place. Now, I should say that what I'm not saying, I mean, if one of you guys has cancer in here and I don't know about it, and you're currently doing chemotherapy or your doctor's telling you to, I'm not sitting here telling you to stop that today. That's something you need to discuss with your doctor, just so we get that out there. But it is definitely worth having the conversation with your doctor about what really are the numbers as far as how effective is this stuff and what's my best approach. But I'm here today just to try to educate you and make you aware of things so that you can think through these things and be proactive about it, hopefully before it ever happens. If you guys have questions, normally I ask you to reserve your questions till afterwards so that I can get through the information, because it's really important that I get it to you and I don't want to keep you here too long. So I usually say please reserve your questions for afterwards. Tonight I have to run fairly quickly. I have to get down to Milwaukee. I've got some classes I got to take in Florida. I got to catch a plane. So I'm not going to be able to stick around tonight and usually just visit like I do. But what I would encourage you to do is, if you do have questions that develop from this talk, either you can talk to me at another time. We certainly can set something up. Or on the sheets that I gave you, there's a website on the left side about half the way down the page. InsightHealthAssociates.com, that's our website. You can go there and you can find my email. Email me your question and I'll answer it back through email. Okay? So I apologize I can't stick around late tonight, but we'll still get your questions answered one way or another. So we talked about the 5 main treatments for cancer and their lack of effectiveness. Chemotherapy is probably the most popular one that's being used, and if you just look at the history of chemotherapy, it's interesting. It actually is mustard gas, and this stuff was first used as chemical warfare during World War I, and so it's something that is very dangerous to the body. Does it kill cancer cells? Yes, but you also have to understand it also kills a lot of your normal cells. That's why people usually don't have any hair when they go through chemotherapy, because it kills the cells that would produce the hair. That's why people throw up and vomit a lot, sometimes very intensively, when they're taking chemotherapy drugs, because it's wrecking the lining of the stomach. It's eating those normal cells. So it not only kills cancer cells, it kills a lot of normal body cells too. And usually, when you watch somebody go through cancer, and you see a lot of the suffering that they go through, a lot of it really is more of a side effect of the chemotherapy than it is the actual cancer itself. And this is why. And the other important thing to keep in mind is that chemotherapy, it kills rapidly dividing cells, cells that multiply really quickly, and not all cancer is that way. So it's not like chemotherapy is necessarily going to wipe out all the cancer. It's only going to kill the fast-growing stuff. Side effects, I'm not going to read them all here. There's a lot of them. Just about anything you can think of you can get as a side effect for chemotherapy. But a couple of them that I've highlighted in red are really important, because you're taking chemotherapy to try to defeat cancer, right? I mean, that's the only reason to take it. But look at some of the side effects. One of them is secondary cancers. So you take chemotherapy to try to defeat this primary cancer, and in the meantime it can cause secondary cancers. Not ideal. The other one I have highlighted in red, what does chemotherapy do? It destroys the immune system. Guys, the immune system it has to be our #1 focus tonight, because your immune system is what fights off the cancer. How much sense does it make to take something that's going to destroy your body's only line of defense against cancer? Well, that's what it does. So again, chemotherapy, if you really look into the research and the statistics on it, you're going to find it's not very effective. It hasn't been very effective at saving very many people from cancer. In fact, it causes a lot of other problems. So most cancer is considered fast-growing. Okay, so the chemotherapy a lot of times can kill some of that. But some of it is slow growing. Okay, so basically what that means is that chemotherapy can